Welcome to Submitting to the Alpha, a spicy paranormal romance web serial. Dive into Isabella and Roman's sizzling shifter romance and experience the thrill of toying with an alpha like never before. Join the adventure now. We hope you enjoy.
Chapter 45. Isabella. Someone knocked at the door, and Roman pulled away from me, but didn't stop staring. The sunlight bounced off his eyes, making them a golden sea. All I wanted was for him to drop this tough guy act and sink his teeth into my neck, claiming me. Roman readjusted himself and opened the door. Caden stood outside, running a hand through his thick locks and pacing back and forth. "Where have you been? We have a—" Riker appeared down the hall, storming toward Roman's office with a tight jaw and even tighter fists. "Isabella, I need to talk to you, now," he said. My eyes widened. Shit. I knew I should have called him or went back to the lichens or something. Without giving me a chance to speak, Roman growled and pulled me behind him. Riker stepped forward, but Roman didn't back down. He growled again, his nails lengthening into claws. Vanessa opened her door. "What's going on out here?" she asked. She actually had the decency to put on clothes this time. "Oh, a love triangle." She leaned against the door frame and looked between us three. "I didn't think you had it in you, Isabella." Roman and Riker both growled, causing her to snap her lips closed. Thankfully, because if they didn't, I would have done it myself. "Get out of my house," Roman said through his teeth to Riker. "I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Isabella, one of my lichens." Oh no, this was bad. Bad. They stepped closer to each other, and I stepped between the two of them, placing my hands on each of their chests before they could kill each other. What was wrong with these two? Hell, what was wrong with all these big-headed, testosterone-filled men? Roman pulled my wrist away from Riker's chest, but I stopped him. "Stop it." "This is your fault, Roman." Riker seethed, eyes flickering to a vicious black. "My fault," Roman growled. "What the fuck is my fault?" I gnawed on the inside of my cheek and turned to Riker, placing both of my hands on him. They needed to be as far apart as I could get them. Two leaders, two violent and vicious leaders, facing off in the middle of Roman's hallway with me between them both. That would end badly. Roman wrapped one arm around my waist, holding me close to him. Caden stood behind Riker, running his hands through his hair. He gazed at me with eyes that pleaded for me to stop them, because he sure as hell couldn't. "This isn't the time for—" Roman pulled me out of the way again and pushed Riker. "Get off of my property. This is, what, the second, third time you showed up without my permission? I don't need your permission to talk to one of my lichens." "She's not yours," Roman growled. Caden cleared his throat, yet neither one of them heard it. So I stepped around them to Caden to see what this whole fuss was about. Vanessa stood next to him, her eyes wide, hanging off of every single word he said. "She's what?" she asked, her voice barely audible. A tear rolled down her cheek. Caden frowned at me. "Jane, she is gone. So is Raj. That lichen from your pack. Isabella, what do you mean they're gone?" "How do you just disappear?" Vanessa cried out, black drops of mascara running down her cheeks. "They're gone," Caden said again, nodding to Riker, who shoved Roman into the wall. They were moments away from going at it, but I couldn't care at the moment. The one reason I had become a lichen was to protect, and now my partner and my mate's sister were taken. Riker said that the rogues took them. "The rogues took them?" I asked in disbelief. When Caden nodded his head, I marched right over to the two men and pushed them both back. "Stop," I shouted, my jaw clenched. Both of their heads snapped to me, and I gazed at Riker. "Is it true?" Roman growled, but I placed a hand on his chest, hoping that it'd calm him enough to get us through this. "Are they both really taken?" My voice wavered. "Who's taken?" Roman asked. Riker gave him a long look. Then he nodded at me. Despite his overt anger, Riker seemed calm about the situation, as if something like this had happened before. "Jane and Raj are gone." I pressed my lips together, a heap of guilt washing over me. This was my fault. "How do you know that rogues took them?" "Jane, what was my sister?" Roman asked. "Their scent was all over Raj's last known location." My heart sunk in my chest. I should have been there with him. I should have been there. This was my fault. They were gone because of me, because I was afraid of being marked by him or some rogues. If I was there, I could have helped him. Now he was taken. Roman tensed behind me, suddenly becoming quiet. Vanessa wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her hiccups louder than before. Caden awkwardly patted her shoulder, trying to calm her down. "Maybe they're just mates and decided to sneak away," she cried. "This is my fault," I said. "If I would have just come back to the lichens when I started heat like we decided, if I would have stayed there and not run away like I did." It was written all over Riker's face that he thought it was my fault too, but he said, "It's not your fault." He sighed deeply through his nose and gazed back at Roman. "It's his." The vein in Roman's neck pulsed violently, and his eyes turned darker than I had ever seen them. "It's my fault that my sister got abducted by rogues? Okay. Keep telling your dirty little lies to my mate to get her to like you," he seethed. Riker growled. "You tracked his scent. You were the last person at his last known location. You refused to mark your own fucking mate. If you would have just done it, we wouldn't be in this situation. If you didn't go behind my back to take my mate away from me, we wouldn't be in this situation. If you weren't so I drowned them out. I couldn't bear to listen to their bickering anymore, not when this was neither of their faults. It was mine. "I can't believe it," Vanessa sobbed. Her cheeks were stained with streaks of black mascara. "Why is this happening? Why would they take her?" I sat in Roman's chair in his office and rubbed my sweaty palms together. It didn't make sense. These rogues were after alphas, not ordinary wolves. Roman paced around the room, ordering his warriors to guard the perimeters and to track any scents that they could find. Riker sat on his phone, talking to someone back at the pack house and gazing at me every few moments. This was my fault, and he knew it. Roman growled. "Crying will get us nowhere, Vanessa." He snapped at her, his teeth already lengthened into canines. Derek ran into the room and sighed in relief when his eyes met mine, but I looked away. He pulled me into a hug, and I barely had enough energy to hug him back. My stomach was twisting with uneasiness. Why take Jane? She wasn't an alpha, neither was Raj. If these rogues were after the alphas, she shouldn't have been taken. This was not the rogues' original plan. This might have been the heat of the moment after hearing that 7 of them were killed at the Night Raiders' full moon party. They might have left clues or forgotten to hide their tracks. Riker gazed up from his phone and nodded to me. "Yeah, she's fine. I'll talk to you later." When he shut off the phone, I stood up. "Let's go," I said. "We need to find them before something happens." I pursed my lips. "Because of me." Roman snatched my wrists. "You're not going. You're not leaving this house." Riker growled at him. "She's going. This is her job." I rolled my eyes. Not this again. They were about to waste another 15 minutes growling at each other and getting nothing done. I gazed at the warriors in the room. "Can we have a bit of privacy?" I asked, nodding to Roman. Riker eyed us for a moment. 2 minutes. He looked back at his phone and tapped on it. "Then we have to go." Once everyone left, I shut the door and pressed my hands against Roman's chest, resting my forehead against his. "I have to go, Roman," I whispered. He grabbed my hands. "No." "I do." "They'll take you too," he said, a sudden sadness in his voice. It was like everyone he had ever loved was taken from him, over and over and over, and he could do nothing about it. He squeezed my hands. "They can't take you. I've waited too long." "Nobody will take me, Roman," I smiled. "I hope you have enough confidence in my abilities to believe that." "I do." He shook his head and leaned back against the oak desk, pulling me into his taut chest. "I'm sorry that I didn't put you on the warriors. I really am. I regret that decision every single day of my life, and now I'm paying for it." I pushed a stray piece of hair out of his face and gently caressed his cheek. This man. "But you can't go." I clenched my jaw lightly. Why couldn't it be easy? Why couldn't he let me protect him and his family? "I'm going, whether you like it or not," I said. "They'll take you. They took Jane to get at me. What makes you think they won't take you too?" "Why do you think they took Jane?" I asked, trying to claw at any piece of information that I could. He paused for a moment. "To weaken me, just like they took Mom to weaken Dad." I gnawed on the inside of my cheek and shook my head. "They haven't done this with anyone else in the past 5 years. No other pack. What makes you so special?" Of course, he was very special to me, but why was he special to these rogues? His parents died years ago, and if these rogues were a new group like Riker had told me, then they shouldn't have any information about that. Roman quickly gazed at the closed door, clenched his jaw, and growled lowly. "I don't know." I gently patted his chest. I didn't know either, but I knew that something wasn't right, and I would out what that was before things turned from bad to worse.
You've reached the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. To get up to 4 weeks additional uncensored content, subscribe to the podcast at reamstories.com/AmeliaRoseAudio. Due to content restrictions, explicit sex scenes will only be available through Ream, but if you'd like to continue listening to my free episodes, make sure to hit the follow button to receive updates.